Well, there's several different ways you can kind of actually put the Reflex boot onto your ski. Obviously the liner, I like to put the liner on first. This is a heat moldable liner. Obviously it comes with instructions. You can put it in the oven, you know, hopefully you don't cook it too much, but then it goes all very soft and you put it on your foot, then put it in your boot and let it cool in there, and this actually molds to all the contours of your foot. What I like to do is I like to put the liner on first, then into the boot. You can put the liner on your foot so it fits real comfortable, and then I can go right into the boot. Right down. The front buckle I like to just have snug, just so that my toes aren't moving around. The middle buckle, to me, for my feel, is the most important. I like to have that one the tightest. That's what really locks my foot down. Sometimes this one's so tight at the end, sometimes I have to just kind of flip it up to let the blood flow again a little bit. The top one I just like to have snug. This is the one that just keeps everything together here. It doesn't need to be really tight. I just like it kind of snug. Like I said, keeps everything there, keeps the water out. Then you can kind of step right onto the ski. I stick the front end there, push this down, and then I can clip in. Okay, now that I'm clipped in, what I do firstly when I put a new binding on is I figure out where I'm comfortable releasing, but I practice that on the dock. I don't go out there and do trial and error, you know, in skiing and hoping, you know, going through the gates or something that this thing's going to stay on. The Silveretta release system is a clip that obviously clips onto a block on the back of the binding here, opens right here, but on the back we have there's a spring in here which has different settings for different levels of how hard it's going to be basically for this to release, because obviously you want it to release in a fall, but you don't want it to pre-release, or I don't. So the way I kind of set mine, you know, with the screw inside here there's a screw. You just put your screwdriver in there. You want it tighter, you just screw it down further. What I do is I do it on the dock before I leave, you know, to be able to practice where I'm comfortable before I go out there. You know, basically I just hold the ski down with my foot, and then I just kind of feel, not too bad, but if I put a little bit of pressure on, I can come out fairly easy at that. That was on a minimum setting. So now I'm going to open up my little flap here, and we're going to screw it down. Let's see, we're going down to, right now I'm at a 4. So again, now I'll put my boot back on, clip in, kind of feel kind of where I'm at. You know, that's pretty comfortable, kind of what that is, but you know, if I get in trouble, it takes a little bit more effort to come out. You know, I'm probably fairly close, but I like to go a little bit further because I want to find where it's a little too tight for me on the dock. So now I'm going to go down quite a ways, that I'm going to go, actually now I'm down to a 7. So obviously now, make sure we're still okay, still here. You know, some good pressure on this, but then, you know, in a fall when everything's gonna go, I can come out. Probably maybe for me a little bit tight right there, but probably not a bad place to start right now, and then I may back it off a little bit, maybe to about a 6. But it's very easy for me to gauge and know where I want to be and feel comfortable that it's not gonna come off too early. But, you know, I can feel how much pressure it's going to take on my leg or my Achilles, my ankle, anything like that, of where I'm at. That's kind of why I like this system. I can actually test it right here. And when somebody goes to a hard shell boot the first time, it takes some adjustability. There's a transition time for it. And with the Reflex boot, what I had to do when I first started using, you know, actually when I started using Reflex in the hard shell, was I had to actually cant my foot a little bit. I had to kind of move my toes a little bit out to the right so that I could get my hips aligned, you know, exactly where I was, because, you know, when you have the Reflex boot, it kind of wants to, you know, bring your shin bone pretty straight up and down, and you need to be able to adjust it so that you can get that side to side feel on there. What we have here in the back here, we have 2 adjustment screws where you can kind of like take one, tighten one up, and you can take the other one, loosen this off, and you actually move the heel left or right, so that kind of gives you an opportunity to be able to open up your hips a little bit more, get more comfortable, and then as you get more used to the binding and the strength of it and, you know, the performance it gives you, you know, for me, I ended up going back straight after a little while. The R-style rear boot is obviously basically a lower version of the front hard shell. It comes with actually a cut down lower boot for the rear one, so everything's kind of comfortable and your foot's in there, feels like a double boot, everything feels the same. So I'm not real good at putting rear boots on, so I'm not used to it, so you kind of, my balance might be a little bit off. But basically you put the boot on first, and then you can set it right in the ski. That down there, and then the two buckles across the front, the two buckles are a little bit lower, and these ones can be as tight as you can stand them. You want control again over the foot. You don't want the foot to be rolling side to side. You want the foot to be anchored so that then the leg and the body can move side to side. In a fall, it's really not much different than somebody coming out of an RTP. Basically the foot just comes right up and out. I like the rear boot system on this. I see a lot of times with people who have rear boots, you know, that the rear boot is actually too high or too restrictive for what they're really trying to do with their skiing. The R-style rear boot gives a rear boot skier, you know, the flexibility and the ankle flexibility and the ability to move the shin bone kind of where you want the hips, you know, spread the legs together, without the restriction of a boot actually being tight coming up on the calf, much like a front boot. If we had this front boot on the back, what would happen is it tends to make this leg here more vertical, so straighter. So when that leg is straighter here, you know, when I'm going forward, okay, I feel okay, but when I'm trying to turn, I'm really restricted and my hips tend to stay behind me. Whereas if you've got more freedom of movement in that shin bone on that rear and through the ankle, you know, everything is much more in a natural position, and the more you can get the skier into a natural position, the stronger they're going to be, the more balanced they're going to be, the more consistent they're going to be.